Next up, author and digital diva Sarah Walton threw away her first novel because she thought it was rubbish. RUFIUS won her a PhD. Mad heretics and rampant bishops run riot in 4th century Alexandria, a city so ruled by passion it's set to consume itself, along with the world's greatest library. When RUFIUS and his young scribe unite, hell literally breaks loose. Please welcome Sarah Walton.
Thank you. RUFIUS is an illicit love story set against the fall of paganism and the rise of Christianity. It's 4th century Alexandria, and the Roman Empire is in the grip of religious revolution. Under the Christian emperors, punishment for heresy and non-normative sexual orientation and gender expression became more severe in a society increasingly intolerant to difference. RUFIUS, Bibulus, Catamitus, a learned and fleshy hedonist and director of the scriptorium of the Great Library of Alexandria, adds the comedy and the tragedy, as he watches his world that he was born into crumble to the intolerance of extremism. He finds himself at the centre of the riots that ravaged Alexandria and resulted in the Seraphim, the most important temple of the pagan world, and home to a vast chunk of the Great Library, being destroyed in 391 AD by Nicene Christian mobs. Apart from being a very naughty boy, RUFIUS was also a Cnidus. Cnidus comes from kinedos, the Greek word for an effeminate buggery, or that's the closest I can get with English anyway. But it took me a novel to really explain it in context. A Cnidus was an adult male who dressed effeminately, wore makeup, plucked and painted on his eyebrows, and the Latin insult implied that he was the receptive partner. Just so we're all crystal clear, that means taking you up the bum. So, academic speak. The ancient Romans defined their sexuality not on a spectrum with gay at one end and straight at the other, like we do, but whether you conquer or submit. Gender was not the issue. If you were a rich adult man, you were expected to conquer and penetrate. It was a social outrage to deviate from the hard ideal of Roman masculinity, wear makeup and bend over for your pleasure. As the poet Martial elegantly put it, you sleep with big-dicked boys, Phoebus, and what is erect on them is not erect on you. I used to want to believe you were a soft male, but rumour has it that you are not a Cnidus. On the other hand, it was perfectly acceptable for boys to submit to the older man, as long as the boys had sprouted soft down on their faces and were showing the signs of manhood. Once a youth had grown a full beard, he was expected to take the active role. Julius Caesar, for example, was accused of being a Cnidus by his political opponents due to a rumoured interlude with King Nicomedes of Bithynia, now modern Turkey, when he was a young soldier and too old to play the receptive role. The laws which condemned Cnidi became harsher under the Christian emperors. In 390 AD, a law was passed which sentenced Cnidi to death by public burning. Very nice. RUFIUS, however, is having none of it. He's not ashamed of wearing his mother's cameo brooches on his toga, and he's not going to stop talking with a lisp because of a bunch of jumped-up bishops. Tonight, Olivier Award-winning performer Christopher Green, who you've just seen, but just forget what he's just done, Anita Bar and all the rest of it, he's going to be RUFIUS. So imagine toga and, kind of puffed out a bit. In this chapter, the Archbishop of Alexandria has arrived at RUFIUS's house with his inspectors to search for RUFIUS's rumoured heretical library. Inspectors were sent out around the Roman Empire in the 4th century to root out heresy. That morning, the Archbishop had delivered a chilling speech after the new laws had been read out in the Agora. The law, which can be found in the Theodosian Code, reads, "All persons who have the shameful custom of condemning a man's body, acting the part of a woman's, to the sufferance of an alien sex, for they appear not to be different from women, shall expiate a crime of this kind in avenging flames in the sight of the people. Because the Romans weren't really exhibitionists, were they? Tricky one to prove in court, though, isn't it? Rufius is not happy about his home, Villa Byblos, being searched by the Archbishop and his inspectors, nor the graffiti scrawled on the walls of his house. So let's go to the luxurious Villa Byblos, overlooking the port of ancient Alexandria. Rufius has just finished dressing and is rearranging his toga before entering the parlour, where the Archbishop of Alexandria is waiting for him. So after 1,600 years in the closet, I give you RUFIUS.
Good. The folds of my toga are perfect today, and I've kept Theophilus waiting just long enough to let him know who's the master of this house. How dare he barge in here and demand to search Byblos? In we go, Apollinus. Perhaps the cameo is too audacious for a meeting with the Archbishop, Master. Why don't you give it to me? This brooch is just the right accessory for the occasion. My favourite cameo. Me as a young buck. I'll not have him think those bigoted laws have riled me. The death sentence, indeed. The law condemning canidae has been echoing round and round in my poor head since this morning. Atoned for a crime of this kind in avenging flames. Erase the thought, Rufius. He wouldn't dare. The brooch stays, Apollinus. I'll not have Theophilus think he's frightened Rufus Bibulus Catamitus. But, Master, the Archbishop knows about your library. You need to tone down. That self-righteous prat doesn't know anything, Apollinus. Why would he be here talking and not burning my books as we speak? He suspects. But suspicions have no weight in court, dear. What in Bacchus's name is that squeak? The slaves who pulled open the tall doors to the ground floor parlour look mortified. How can I make a serious entrance accompanied by squeaking doors, dears? Apollinus is still fussing behind me. They will be well oiled, Master. Don't bother me with the method, Apollinus. How disappointing. No slave heads bobbing between Theophilus's legs. Byblos hospitality not good enough for him. Where does he find his pleasure? In the darkness of the shame he preaches with church orphans? Or does he obey that pleasure-hating God of his and abstain? The dark cloaks of the Archbishop and his inspector strike a harsh contrast to the sunlight streaming in from the terrace. Antonius's sweet voice and the strum of the harp are at odds with Theophilus's sour face, dark eyes framed by bushy black eyebrows. They've never seen a pair of tweezers. My stomach is a tight knot. This is the first time Byblos has failed to seduce her guests. The slaves look insulted. Cassius and Antoninus aren't used to being rejected. Even the centaurs and satyrs look like they want to leap from the frescoes and run out of the room. Straight-backed on the couch, Theophilus's dark eyes meet mine. This will be an entertaining battle. Theophilus, what a pleasant surprise. Oh, not bothering to rise to your host. Oh, to Hades with etiquette. Let's flash a plucked leg as I recline to irritate him. Wine. Let's fiddle with my brooch as Cassius pours. Oh, the disgust on the Archbishop's face. Superb. Thank you, Cassius. My wine's well watered. The slaves want me to keep my wits. they're afraid of him. A beauty, isn't he, Bishop? I flick up Cassius's tunic and his muscular buttocks tense. Not rags you're wearing, are they, Theophilus? Now I'm closer to you, I can see the quality of the fine linen mix, possibly open to a little bribery then. I see your walls have been painted, Canidas. So he did order the graffiti. Pathetic! What an intellectual disappointment. Well, if it's cheap insults he wants, Apollonios will put you in a better humour, Bishop. I keep him for guests with unusual tastes. They both look like they want to kill me. Theophilus's furry brows furrow to a hard black line. I will be brief, Rufius. Excellent. Your little speech this morning must have exhausted your oratory repertoire. My smile is wide and sarcastic. His temper flushes his cheeks pink. You're not above the law, Rufius. You would be wise to cooperate with me. But enough of this nonsense. That law is nothing new. The death sentence has been in place since the 40s, and not a single case has reached trial. And as for books, you'll find nothing even mildly heretical at Byblos. Your kind is an embarrassment to the empire and an insult to God. His deep growl of a voice is level. His gaze moves in disgust from my brooch to my hair. Didn't my hairdresser do a splendid job today? I twirl a ringlet. I do like a good hair day. That riled him. Guards! Theophilus's voice rings across the house. A metallic clatter from the atrium, and 2 centurions appear in the doorway, both sheepish. Good Romans, they didn't turn their noses up at Byblos's pleasures. My dear centurions, I'm pleased to see Villa Byblos's hospitality is appreciated. Enough! Theophilus stands, drinks trays clatter to the floor. The soldiers' backs straighten, hands move to hilts, but they're ready for nothing. Enough, Rufius. You mock the church, you mock the empire, you mock mankind. That's better, dear. You needed a little colour in your cheeks. Theophilus glares at me. I do believe his eyebrows are as black as my coal. Where is it, Rufius? Ha, I win today, Theophilus. I lift the folds of my toga and pretend to search for my under-exercised penis. It's been dormant for years, dear. Apollonios' gaze heats the back of my neck, and Theophilus' dark-robed silhouette casts a shadow over me as he blocks the sun from the terrace. The size of him towering a head above me is disturbing. Do not underestimate me, Rufius. Tell me the location of your secret library. I drop my toga. He's knocked the play out of me. At least Damascus could banter. My fingers twirl my curls faster. Secret library? Oh, you mean my private collection? An almost imperceptible movement of my index finger has Apollonios behind my couch in an instant. Apollonios, dear, fetch my collection of pornography for the bishop. Theophilus is seething. The privilege of your birth has dimmed your senses. This is not the empire you were born into. The emperor has a vision, and minor details, such as trials, will not stop us stamping out heresy. Your heretic collection is well known to the Church of Alexandria. That's the same look on Theophilus' face as when I left the law courts 10 years ago with Aeson. He's not forgotten how I belittled him. This is about his personal revenge. What? Hear that, Apollonios? The bishop's not interested in my pornography. Look around you, dear. My arm waves at the statues and frescoes. I'm a collector of art. Or do you call this heresy too? Harbouring heretical books is the reason I am here. Your motivation does not interest me. nor will my inspectors be interested in the protest of a canitus. I can pin you down with heresy or infamy. There are enough young boys who can make declarations in the courts about that. Oh, pin me down. A swing of my hips is in order. Bring on your inspectors, Bishop. This old Roman could do with a little fun. Theophilus's thin top lip curls in disgust. His smooth, steely voice deepens. Give me the information I want, and I will show you mercy. Fail to disclose vital information regarding the pollution of heresy in this city, and I'll see you burn. Come now, Bishop, this is very dull. You've been sucked in by idle gossip. What interest would an old Canadas have in heretical books? I do enjoy demoting archbishops.
Sarah, Chris and Rufius, everyone.